Gives it to Wall. Working against Bradley for three. Whoa! What a shot.
3 balls, 2 strikes. The pitch. Swinging a long drive. Deep left field. Going.
Bledsoe back to pass. Steps up. Going deep. Caught. Oh! T.O. is leveled by Sean Taylor. And he's slow getting up.
Well, this could be a run back from 9 deep for Jacoby Jones. And look at him go. Jones is past the 50. And he is flying inside the 20. And a kickoff return. 109 yards and a touchdown. An all-time record.
Holden inbounds to Nicholas. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. He's across midcourt. 2 seconds, 1 second. Throws it up. And he got it. And the Terrapins win on the shot by Nicholas at the buzzer.
Plays win. Plays win. Plays win. Plays win. Plays win.
Puck in front. Connolly with a chance. And they score. They score. The puck on a rebound for Lars Eller. And as the puck drops, the words that DC fans have been waiting to hear since 1974, the Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions.
Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome into the DMV Dispute. I'm your host, Jeremy John, and you can follow me on Twitter at jsquared021, and I'm joined by my boys, Darrin and Jerrod. You can follow Darrin on Twitter at dbirdhoops and Jerrod on Twitter at RoddyKG. Darrin, Jerrod, how's everything going with you all?
Everything's going great. Everything's going great, Jeremy. Thanks for having us.
All right. As always, my fault, Darrin. As always, we are proud to do this podcast for one of the top sports websites in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. That will be DMVSportsNetwork.com. And they can be followed on Twitter and on Instagram at DMV_SN. They have some great daily content on the website of all things DMV sports, whether it be professional sports, college sports, and high school sports, and a lot more. So after you listen to this podcast, go ahead and check out DMVSportsNetwork.com. In addition, please be sure to subscribe to our show wherever podcasts are available, and that includes Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Anchor. Without further ado, let's get this show on the road. This past week, what was it, Thursday, we found out the news of free agent Bryce Harper. He decided to sign with the Philadelphia Phillies, a 13-year, $325 million contract. He is now the highest paid Major League Baseball player when it comes to total salary. He is not the annual average value, but he is when it comes to total salary. I'm going to start with you, Jerrod. When you heard the news that Bryce Harper decided to sign with the Philadelphia Phillies, what was your reaction?
My reaction was kind of, I mean, I knew he was going to come here. I'm not as hateful or angry about it as a lot of Nationals fans I've seen over the Twitterverse, and even with some of the other DMV Sports Network hosts that I've spoken with who've had, their strong opinions about it. I'm not that upset about it. The team has seemed to move on. I like the way the roster looks now, post Bryce Harper. He moved up, up the street a little bit, but Philly's not that far away. We see him early in April. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be one of those Vince Carter, LeBron James things. A lot of fans are angry now because it's so fresh. But after a while, and they've both had time to move on from all the fallout of everything, I think both Bryce Harper and the Nationals fan base are going to really just be appreciative of the time that he had here. Bryce Harper was the first true star the Nationals ever had. And he put them on the map. He made them a team to notice and take a look at, and they're going to miss having that star power, that star quality on their roster until somebody else feels it. And so it's time for some young guys to step up. But as far as my reaction, I think that, happy for him. He's going to be in Philadelphia for 13 years, which seems awful. And if that sounded like hate on Philadelphia, it was. Philadelphia is a trash city. But as far as Bryce goes, I wish him the best, just not when he plays the Nets.
Yeah, it's very interesting. If you listen to his, first interview after signing with the Phillies, Freudian slip. He said he was gonna bring a championship to DC. I don't know if y'all heard that, but
yes, I definitely heard that. And then he tried.
I would like to say, I hope that means that he's trying to destroy the Phillies from the inside, because that'd be awesome. But I mean, good for him. Good for him. So he got his deal, 13 years, $330 million. So you know what? Good for you. I guess you really wanted to be in Philly. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's an awfully big deal for someone who's. I mean, it's like Jerrod said. He put us on the map, and I'm thankful for that. But 13 years, $330 million, that's a lot. Like, I'm 31 now. In 31 years, when Bryce Harper's contract is up, I will be 44 when I'll be 44. That's a commitment. So guess if he wanted that, that's good. And you know what? I wish the Phillies a lot of luck with Bryce Harper. I wish him a lot of luck, but I'm still convinced that we were right to move on from him. So
now, did you all hear the reports of what the Washington Nationals actually offered Bryce Harper? Did you hear that report that came out last week?
It was more than what the Phillies offered.
Yes, the Phillies were gonna offer 10 years, $300 million, but only 200 of it up front, or 200, and then 100 million of it was going to be deferred, and Bryce did not want that. I know a lot of people talk about the Bobby Bonilla contract that that he gets his payments. He gets $1 million every year up until 2000, whatever. Right now, that was a situation that worked well with the Mets, but for a player or it worked well for Bobby Bonilla, not actually the Mets at all. We could talk about that on another episode. But when it came to Bryce Harper actually wanted the $300 million, and that was probably one of the big deterrents. If this report is true, I'm gonna start with you, Darrin. How do you feel about the organization if this is true?
That probably says that they really wanted to keep their star. They really wanted to, at the very least, keep the star power. But I think that means, I think that them not upping that offer, I think it means that they were prepared. I think they were prepared going into the offseason to move on from Bryce Harper. I feel like the writing was kind of on the wall, but I think it just says a couple of things to me. It says, one, that Bryce Harper just didn't want to be here, flat out. He was ready to move on. And secondly, it says that the Nationals did want him back, but still, I think it was more based on the fact that he was a star and that he sort of kept the Nationals on the map, as opposed to them having to groom another potential star and hope that it worked out in the future. So that's kind of where I'm at about it. But like I said, I think the Nationals made the right choice by not trying to offer more and not trying to outbid Philly. I like where we're at right now.
I mean, listen, I like where we're at too. The Nationals put an offer out there that was a good deal, arguably for both sides. Right. I don't, like you said, Harper, I don't know if he really, really wanted to be here. I think he did, but I think he also knew that, I think in his mind, he didn't think the team would be able to win in DC. I don't think he really thought that they could find a way to get it together and win. And I think, outside of the money, I think the main reason why he went to Philadelphia is because I'm willing to bet he probably bet half of what he's earning on the fact that when Mike Trout's contract is done in LA, he's going to come home and play for the Phillies. Mike Trout's a native of South Jersey, so he grew up a Phillies fan. And so he'll be a free agent really, really, really soon, and still very, very good and still very much in his prime. And he'll have players like Bryce Harper in Philadelphia right there, and you add a team, any outfield that has somehow both Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, it's going to be a very, very, very hard team to beat. So I think that's what he's betting on. I think he looked at his situation, and him with the Nationals might have been better in 2019, but I think he's willing to bet that him on the Phillies with the possibility of getting Mike Trout will be better from 2021 and on. And so I think that's what the determining factor was for him. And that's my opinion. That's what I think he was thinking when he took the role in Philly.
Can't disagree with what you're saying. It all makes sense. I'm fine with where we are right now. So I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. I think that I feel like the fan base is really going to try to find ways to make Bryce the villain, and he didn't go out smooth. He didn't, write a fan letter to DC, blah, 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 what they all say as they leave. He didn't do anything like that. He didn't really, go out as the city's hero. We didn't really win anything here. But it's unfortunate that a guy like that really isn't on the roster anymore. But I think they'll bounce back. I think they will.
Well, do you really think the DC is going to make him the villain? Do you think we're? Huh.
I think so. I think so. I don't see him as the villain, but it's also because I'm not as diehard of a Nats fan as a lot of those who go to the games and follow the team. I mean, I follow the team as much as any average Nationals fan, but as far as those guys who go to the game every chance they get, keep score in their own little book and everything like that. Every single time they go to a game, those guys see a guy who turned his back on his team, and they hate it. I guess it would be similar if John Wall decided to walk away from the team, or Trent Williams decided to turn his back on the Redskins. It's just like it'd be tough for me to see a guy like that leave. And so I didn't want to try to make him the villain just because they're hurt. Like, every time there's a bad breakup, the one who got left tries to make it, oh, man, you ain't like me in the first place. You just used me for my money. And because I was good to you, you took advantage of me. And now that you're gone, I never needed you in the first place.
See, I don't really call this a bad breakup, though, because I think, he made his decision. It wasn't like he was super public about, oh, I don't want to be here during the season or anything like that. I think it'll be sort of like, I'm trying to think what a good analogy is. I think it might be something more akin to just the player. He played his heart out for the team while he was here, and then when he left, he made his decision. So I think it'll be an appreciation when he first comes, but then you turn on him once the game actually starts. It's like DeMar DeRozan getting traded to the Spurs. So the Spurs it's not like that. That's not the best analogy, because he didn't want to go. But it's like you might cheer for him, but at the same time, once the game starts, he's the villain.
I think it's going to be more of how when Vince Carter left the Raptors, he didn't get traded. He didn't leave or against his will. He saw what was happening in Toronto, appreciated his time there, and he decided that he couldn't get it done in Toronto, and so he left. And when he decided, to leave, and when he came. With that those first few years when he came back to play in Toronto, he got booed out the arena. They forgot about all the stuff he did for them. The fact that he put that team on the map. That Toronto, like if it wasn't for Vince Carter, that the Raptors probably would have gone the way of the Vancouver Grizzlies and just got moved to U.S. market. But
if you remember, that was kind of different because they were already a little bit upset with him. Because if you remember, when he missed the big potential game winner in the playoffs that would have helped Toronto to advance, because he had been away. I think what was it? He was getting his diploma, and then he came back, so he missed practice. So I think Raptors. He had missed practice even though he was there for the game. I think Raptors fans were upset with him just because of the way that it ended. I think he had sort of been upset with the organization, and that was when he ended up leaving. So I think that in that situation, Raptors fans had sort of a valid excuse for being mad at Vince Carter. I mean, they did.
And if that's your point, the Nationals fans have the same argument. For all the MVPs and awards and home run derbies that Bryce Harper has won, he has not shown up in the playoffs when they really needed him to. Vince
Carter was a very good player, but he was never an MVP. He was just a really good player for the Raptors.
But he was the MVP of that team.
Of course.
He might not have been the NBA MVP, of course, but he was the best basketball player in an entire country. Vince Carter was up there in Toronto. He was the best player. He was the best player in Canada. It was only two teams and then eventually one team in Canada. But he was the guy. He had an entire country behind him, rooting for him, that had never rooted or never even watched basketball, really. And they were rooting for this guy. And they wanted him to be great, even if he wasn't as good as some of the other, as the Kobe's and even as Tristan McGrady was when he ended up leaving, going down to Orlando and Houston and wherever else. He wasn't as good as those guys. And the same as Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's always been really, really great. He's always been a great baseball player. He was just never Mike Trout. You know, he was just never, just that little bit more when you needed him to be. And for that's where his downfall was. And I think, the Nationals fans, because, my dad, he's a real true through and blue DC guy. And so he was happy to see Bryce Harper leave because he wanted somebody who's going to be the star of the team that could be clutch when the team needed him to be. And he just didn't think Bryce Harper had that quality. I said that being clutch, ice in the veins, whatever you want to call it, it's a quality. It's a trait that you got to have. You have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have that, then it might be wasted because you don't have the ability to seize that moment. And so Bryce Harper, I love him. I love when he was here. He was really the first time me getting into Nationals baseball is because of Bryce Harper. And so I think that I just really feel like it's, the Nationals fans that are true and die hard are going to act as if Alex Ovechkin decided to leave the Capitals and didn't give a good reason why. So,
right. Wow. Yeah, he didn't have those winning intangibles. That's fair. That's fair.
Man, who would have thought that this conversation would have got so robust, I must say. So passionate, man. But let's move on to the NFL. Over the weekend, there was the NFL Scouting Combine. A lot of college prospects were out there impressing GMs and scouts and owners of NFL teams. When it comes to the Scouting Combine, first, did you all watch it? And then if you did, who impressed you all at the Scouting Combine? Let's start with you, Jerrod.
Yes, I did watch it. I watch it every year, and I love it. I understand that, a lot of people don't really see the value in it or don't think it's as big of a deal as, determining where things go. And all it does is hype up players who are good athletes and not necessarily great players. But I love the Combine because it gives a type of, measuring stick to where you guys are. They don't run any scrimmages. They don't do any team drills or anything like that. It's just individual workouts. And I really love every aspect of it. Somebody who impressed me, of course, DK Metcalf, and 1.7% body fat, 4.33, 27 reps, I think, on the bench. All very impressive for a receiver. I get it. I understand it. The guy that impressed me the most was Devin White, linebacker out of LSU, because he's one of those guys who I would love to see the Skins draft at 15. People are saying quarterback. Some people are saying wide receiver. Listen, there's a big, big hole in the Redskins that has been there ever since the Skins have switched over to the 3-4 scheme. And it's been a true interior linebacking duo. The Redskins have not had that ever. It's just the 3-4. I don't like the different combinations of players. It just hasn't worked out. And I think that I think Devin White is a guy that could finally solve that problem. A true interior linebacker who has the speed to play the run, but also has the ability to cover and to recognize places that happen in the passing game. If Zach Brown could somehow figure out how to play pass, how to defend the pass, he could be an all-pro linebacker because he has the athleticism and the toughness to do it. It's just for whatever reason, as soon as he sees the quarterback drop back, he becomes a special team player. It's uncanny how bad he is on passing downs. And guys like Mason Foster are great, team guys, great work guys. He was named team captain and all that good stuff. But as far as translating that to the field, he was really middle of the road in a lot of things, and he was who he was. But I think a guy like Devin White's a good guy to try to. If he's there at 15, I don't see how you don't take him. I really don't. I mean, there's I wish they grabbed Tremaine Edwards at that pick last year. I like the Aaron Payne. I like him a lot. There's two guys that I'd rather. After watching the combine last year, I knew that if Derwin James and Edwards were somehow there when the Skins drafted, they'd be crazy not to take those two guys. Edwards is a 6'6" inside linebacker who's going into the draft at the age of 19. Like, you're going to catch him at the end of his rookie deal coming into his prime. And the Beatles got a steal last year. And we saw what Derwin James did last year for the Chargers. And imagine if we had him in our secondary this past season instead of HaHa Clinton Dix. Imagine the difference, what that would have been. And so, the Combine, I always watch it. I love it. And I can't wait to see what happens draft night, because now all these different rumors are going on. We can get into that a little bit later about the Skins and all these other rumors going out there about who they're going to draft, who they might trade for, what they might do. I love it because the Combine is the official start of the NFL offseason, and I can look forward to it every single year.
Yeah, I I didn't watch all of the combine. I didn't watch a whole lot, but I did see a lot of highlights. You know, obviously it's easy to talk about DK Metcalf. I think he stood out to everybody. You know, just he's that kid. He's gonna be something special, I think, and I think we all know that. I had my eye on this kid, Montez Sweat. I mean, did you see this guy at the combine?
Yeah.
He was
nice. Good pick.
And
I love Montez Sweat. I see some mock go to the Skins.
I love him. I would love if he was available, if the Skins could take him at that 15th pick. You know, 6'6", 260 pounds, and the fastest defensive lineman at the combine. You know, and I think it was that a combine record dating back to, what was it, 2004, 2003, something like that. He set a record for defensive linemen, and I think only one running back set a faster time than him. So, I mean, I think, I know I talk all about offense and wanting the Redskins to draft an offensive player, but I mean, if we go defense in the first round and Montez Sweat is still available, you know, we need him. We need to jump on this kid. Like I was just kind of blown away. And you know, hey, defense wins championships. Well, defense wins games, I should say. But I mean, and he's got length, you know, if you have this guy on your defensive line, then I'm just, you know, I can't even, you know, but yeah, Montez Sweat, I was all, there's a lot of good guys. There's a lot of good guys I saw. Kaylin Saunders stood out to me. We had a few, but I mean, I was all over this kid. He was kind of the guy that I had my eye on, besides a guy like DK Metcalf, of course. But yeah, I think. But my one thing about the combine, the reason why I can't take everything just at face value is because it's not necessarily, you know, running with pads. You know, they're not doing all their drills, you know, fully. So I want to see them, you know, when they're in pads, when they're actually, you know, running more full drills and stuff. I think that's sort of what's going to be most telling. But as far as the combine, you know, this is what I like to see.
Listen. I agree with what you say. You know, they're not in pads. It's, you know, it's not a true measurement. The studs at combine can end up being a huge bust when they get drafted. And I think Metcalf has bust written all over him. But I think that you know, the combine serves a purpose because you're getting, you know, a guy. You're looking at the guys you're looking to draft, and you see what type. It's kind of one of those things where, you know, it's their first time. A lot of teams can sit down with the guys that they're looking to, you know, potentially draft and have conversations with them, see how they're measured out, get physicals on a lot of them, you know, because Kyler Murray took a huge jump in value once he measured out at 5'10.5" or whatever he measured out at. You know, once they saw that he was, you know, around the same height as a lot of the guys who are playing quarterback at the moment right now, that helped him tremendously. And so that kind of thing the combine does help, you know, it answers some questions you might have because you're able to see true numbers on guys, not just what their schools are reporting.
All right.
Yeah. Kyler Murray was very impressive. I was impressed by his hand size too. Big hands. That's all.
Yep. And actually, that's a great segue into our next topic. Kyler Murray, there are reports that he may go number 1 overall, and that would be to the Arizona Cardinals. But let's remember, the Arizona Cardinals drafted Josh Rosen at number 10 last year. Yep, at 10 overall last year for their first round pick. There are rumors that the Cardinals may be trying to ship Josh Rosen out of Arizona, and the number 1 team that is on the radar is the Washington Redskins. I'm going to start with you, Darrin. Do you want this trade to happen?
Yes. Okay. Hear me out, because it sounds crazy. Because the Arizona Cardinals went 3-13 last season with Josh Rosen, but if you look at their offensive line was not very good. It was downright horrible. And yeah, Josh Rosen threw 14 interceptions to 11 touchdowns, 55% completion rating, but he's young. If you look at him as a long-term development project, this kid's only 22 years old. And if you can surround him with at least a slightly better product, a slightly better offensive product than what the Cardinals had out on the field at any point last season, then I think you can make an argument that Josh Rosen could theoretically fit here. Most people would look at him and say, Josh Rosen, he's not, probably might not deserve to be even a first round, might not have deserved to have even been a first round pick. But I think that Josh Rosen, with the change of scenery playing here in DC, especially if we can shore up our offensive line to help him out, having him with our running backs, with guys like Darius Geis and, even Josh Stockton, if he can stay healthy, he can get a mentor in Alex Smith, who's not going to play next season, but he's going to be around. He can have a nice mentor here to sort of help him along the way. And I keep saying this, but Washington is in need of a quarterback, whether it's a development prospect or someone who's already established.
Yeah, so the whole Kyler Murray going number 1 overall, Rosen to DC stuff, when I first heard it, I didn't like it. I didn't like the idea of trading for Rosen. I thought that the Skins had too many holes, and trading for a guy like Rosen wouldn't yield anything for us other than just a young quarterback who had to spend a draft pick that we didn't plan on spending a draft pick on. And so I was against it. But after a day or two of thinking about it, I'm all for it. I'm all for the Rosen trade. If they take Murray number 1 and looking to move Rosen, I like to trade a lot. And one reason why I really, really enjoy the prospect of trading for Rosen is because the reason why the Redskins are number 1 probably is because we're the only team that might be in the market for him. I saw odds on if the Cardinals take Murray number 1. If they take Kyler Murray number 1, the Redskins are 3-1 odds of being the team that he goes to. The teams after that, the Miami Dolphins, who just cut Ryan Tannehill an option, but they're probably most likely try to find somebody in the draft. The Patriots, who have Tom Brady. The Giants are positioned to draft either Murray or Haskins. Probably won't trade for him. The Chargers have Phillip Rivers. The Raiders have Carr, who are next. Next is the Bengals. Their quarterback situation is dicey, but they have a lot of holes in their team too. And Andy Dalton isn't terrible. The Denver Broncos just traded for Flacco. They're next. Then it's the New Orleans Saints, followed by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who close out that list of the top 10 teams likely to trade for Josh Rosen if Kyler is taken number 1 overall. Since the teams that would even consider trading for him aren't that long, the Cardinals probably won't be able to get anything back for him. So you're not going to spend a number 1 over. You're not going to spend a first round pick on Josh Rosen. And you're not going to spend. You might be able to get away with a late day 2, talking round 3 type of pick. And I could package a couple of comp picks and get a Josh Rosen who's taking top 10 a year ago. I'll take that, because even if worst case scenario it doesn't work out and he's like every other 3rd round quarterback who never worked out. And so I don't see a situation where the Skins can lose if they trade for Rosen. It gives them an answer that's potentially long term, and he's the type of quarterback that can fit into a system.
Right.
He's not flashy anyway. He has a good arm. He's intelligent. He can learn an offense quickly, and it's not like he's been installed in the system for years. It has to learn something completely new. If he hasn't been in the league before 1 year. He only played in 14 games last year, and that offense he had was the offensive line he had was terrible. Darrin, you alluded to it earlier. It was awful. I want to say I saw somewhere like he got sacked on 8 points.
45.
He got sacked 45 times.
45 times.
45 times in 14 games. That's good for every 8 times he dropped back to pass, he got sacked. There's no way you have a good season if that's the case. If I had that O-line, I would throw 14 interceptions too, because I'm getting the ball out my hands as quick as possible, and it might not be the best throw out there. And outside of Larry Fitzgerald, the pass catchers for the Cardinals aren't that great. I mean, are they that great in DC? Not at all. That could change in the offseason. Hopefully it does. But he's a much better offensive line here than in Arizona, and he'll have a quarterback-friendly coach. If Jay Gruden is nothing, he's a quarterback-friendly coach. And so I'm all for the move to get Rosen if we can get if we can use a day 2 pick on him and not overspend for the guy.
All right. As always, we are proud to do this podcast for the DMV Sports Network. And we just want to remind you all that we are not just the only podcast that is part of the DMV Sports Network. There are many more. There are 9 active shows, including team shows for the Redskins, Capitals, Nationals, Wizards, and Ravens. There's Fantasy Fever, which is dealing with all things fantasy football, and a pair of mixed bag shows from It's About Time DC and Dom and Thunder. All of these shows are available wherever podcasts can be found, so please check these other podcasts out. And if you like them, just make sure to leave a review or even subscribe to them. All right, let's stay within the NFL, but just be real quick. Baltimore Ravens, there's a couple things that have come up with the Ravens. Running back Alex Collins was arrested for drug possession. He was released by the Ravens this weekend, so I'll be real quick. Start with you, Darrin. Should the Ravens just stick with the running backs that they have, and that includes Gus, man, I'm having a blank right now. Gus Edwards, Javoris Allen, Ty Montgomery, and Kenneth Dixon, or should they be looking for a running back in the draft? Just real quick, Darrin, and then we go to Jerrod.
Yeah, I say they should go ahead and look for a running back to help out Lamar Jackson in the draft.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I think that they should look for somebody in the draft. I don't know what the free agent market outside of Le'Veon Bell for running back is. I doubt they'll be willing to spend that much for Le'Veon Bell. I mean, they decided to move on from a lot of key pieces on defense, and so they have some money to spend. They decided not to bring back guys like C.J. Mosley and Eric Weddle are now free agents, and they released guys like Michael Crabtree a week ago. And so they have some money to play around with in the free agency. They, looking for a guy to pair with Jackson in Baltimore. So I think they have to really decide whether or not they want to find somebody a little bit more seasoned and experienced or go for youth. But I like what DeCosta is doing. I like that he's establishing his own team outside of what was going on before, even though they had success. I think he's recognizing the shift in the NFL, and he's trying to get the Baltimore Ravens to go with that shift. So it's interesting to see. I'm excited to see how it plays out for Baltimore.
All right, and then also C.J. Mosley was not assessed the franchise tag today. Today was the deadline for that, so he will be an unrestricted free agent. So just want to give some other Baltimore Ravens news about that. Let's move on to the Washington Capitals. In their last 10 games, they are 7-3, and they're on a 4-game winning streak on top of the Metropolitan Division, where just about 2 weeks ago, they were a few games behind the New York Islanders. Start with you, Jerrod. Are they priming themselves for a deep playoff run? I know we spoke about this a couple weeks ago, but now that we're after the trade deadline, do you think they're really? Is this going to be a real run to the Stanley Cup?
I think it could be. I mean, this team's done it before. I think that hockey's one of those sports that's hard to make runs. It's hard to duplicate, that level of success. You can get there, can get close, but it's such a fluid game in a way that power doesn't necessarily stay with one team for a really, really long time. Not like you see in basketball or even football even. And so I think that they have a chance to do it. It's just a matter of if this team goes into it just as hungry as they were a year ago, because no matter what, once you've won, there's no way to be just as hungry to win as when you didn't have one. You have to find something new to motivate you, and you have to figure out what that thing is, and you have to get the entire team to buy into it. I think the new pieces they traded for at the deadline are really folding into this team nicely, and their difference has been noticeable. And so I'm excited about it. And I think the Capitals are going to have a really good stretch going into the playoffs this summer. I really do. I'm excited about it. Yeah. And I think that the consistency has gone up a little bit. I think they've made strides to keep trying to play at the same level each and every night. And I think that was bound to happen anyway. That happens no matter what the sport is. When it comes crunch time, like LeBron said, playoff mode was activated, even though they've been awful ever since he said that. But I think that it's one of those things that when the games start to matter after certain points in the season, after the All-Star break, after the trade deadline, when things start really going into full swing, is when you'll see players and teams take that step, and you can notice the teams that are going to really become difficult outs when the playoffs start. I think the Capitals are reestablishing themselves as one of those teams. I think the rest of the league will take notice.
All right. Let's move on now to college basketball. We haven't actually spoken about this University of Virginia, but however, they are the number 2 team in the nation, so we got to give them their respect. Also, it's not too far from here in the Washington metropolitan area, and we have adopted the University of Virginia as a DMV school because a lot of their alums actually live in the area. So shout out to them. Real quick, I'll start with you, Darrin. Do you think they're going to end up being, even though they're number 2 right now, do you think they're going to remain a number 1 seed in one of the 4 regions?
I'm not entirely convinced that they'll be able to remain. They had a really nice win over Syracuse, but I don't know. I feel like that game was kind of more Syracuse losing as opposed to Virginia winning. But I think they have a chance. Maybe they've got some good players, but I'm not wholly convinced that they'll be able to hold on to it where they are. So, I mean, I guess time will really tell. Honestly, I don't follow Virginia too closely, other than just watching a few of their games here and there. But I mean, all I can say right now is that time will tell. Time will tell. So we'll see.
I think they'll be number 1 seed. I think it'll be hard to deny them that. I don't know what region they'll probably be. They'll probably be number 1 seed in the South region. I don't know. If you put, let's say, Gonzaga number 1 in the West and Duke number 1 in the East, that leaves the South, the Midwest up for grabs. I don't know what other team you could say is more deserving of number 1 seed UVA. It all depends on how they finish in the ACC tournament. If they play Duke or UNC and they play them well, I could see them becoming I see them being more. I think, in my opinion, they're more deserving of a 1 seed than Duke is. They're the better team right now, anyway. And Tony Bennett's one of the best coaches in basketball. It's going to be a thing where I really feel like they're going to put them as a 1 seed, and people will look to see if they can really just wipe out last year, the loss over the 16 seed UMBC, and really run the tables in the tournament like they should. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how it goes down. But it's some exciting basketball happening just this weekend. We got Duke versus North Carolina and Michigan versus Michigan State. And so we'll see a lot of good basketball closing out going into the conference tournaments. And the ACC is going to be a tough one. It's interesting. It's like all of them, except for maybe the Pac-12, but all of them are going to be really close. You know, you got the 3 top teams in almost every single conference could walk away with it and shake up the entire bracket. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm excited, but I think as of right now, UVA will be a number 1 seed, and I think they're deserving of that number 1 seed.
All right. Well, we have time for one more topic. And this one, I know it's going to be a good one because before we even started recording, you all were going at it. It's about the Washington Wizards. And more importantly, this is about a little, almost a month from the trade deadline in February where Otto Porter Jr. was traded. Also, earlier in the year, we had Kelly Oubre Jr. He was traded to the Phoenix Suns, and then, like I said, Otto Porter to the Chicago Bulls. Both of them are playing pretty well. So my question for you, and I'm going to start with you, Darrin. Did the Wizards make a mistake by trading Kelly Oubre Jr. and Otto Porter?
No, I'm going to say no, they did not make a mistake. Now, let me tell you why. And I know just from talking about it, I know that Jerrod is going to disagree with me on this point, as are a lot of people, because I see it all over Twitter, all over social media, but I'm going to tell you why. So let's break it down. So Otto Porter Jr. has been averaging 19.8 points, almost 20 points on almost 53% shooting since being traded to the Bulls. He just scored 31 points and made 7 of 13 from 3-point range against the Hawks. And then Kelly Oubre has been averaging about 19 points per game over the last 11 after dropping 27 the other night in the win over the Lakers. He dropped 27 the other night. I think it was in the win over the Lakers. But you have to look at the teams. I feel like these numbers are always skewed because you have to take into account the teams that they're playing for. So it's different when you're on a team where there's pressure to actually win. So when the Wizards started the season, they were expected to be not necessarily a finals contending team, but, you know, a playoff team. They were expected to be a winning team with a winning record. So Otto Porter Jr. and definitely not Kelly Oubre, you know, they weren't number 1 options. And, you know, Oubre still isn't a number 1 option in the Suns, but Otto Porter has become their franchise guy for the Bulls. And I think it's different when you're on a tanking team that has no expectations to win. So you have a much more free-flowing offense. There's less pressure to necessarily be good within a system, not saying that the Wizards necessarily have a winning system or a discernible system to speak about, but there are expectations on the Wizards. But it's not uncommon to see these guys put up gaudy numbers for these bad teams when they can just sort of shoot the ball. You know, you can have a different number 1 option on a different night. Just anybody can catch fire whenever. When it doesn't necessarily mean the team is going to win. You know, if you just look back, Devin Booker scored 70 points in a loss to the Boston Celtics. 70 points in a loss. And, you know, how many times is a player going to score 70 points and his team loses? You know, you look at teams like that. I don't think it necessarily means anything. You'd have to look at it if the Bulls were a winning team, if they were in the playoff hunt. The Suns are gonna get the number 1 or number 2 pick, like plain and simple. They're probably gonna get the number 1 pick. All right, so they are a tanking team. So Oubre is he's shooting his shots and he's just playing ball without having to worry about, is this really contributing to my team winning, etc. I can just play ball and there's less pressure, so it's fine. We see it all the time on these teams. So I think that the Wizards made the right choice. Otto Porter wasn't really the right fit. Kelly Oubre, yeah, he's young, he's a prospect, he still had a ceiling, but I think that they made the right choice in moving on from Otto and Kelly.
Okay, so like you already said, I'm disagreeing with you. I think they were both kind of bullheaded too early moves. I like both moves. I like Otto Porter getting traded. I do. I like it a lot. I just think it should have waited. I'm not going to speak too much on that. I've never been a huge Otto fan. I liked when he got drafted, and I was rooted for him his first few years. But once I saw the type of player he was going to be, I knew that he couldn't help us win, at least not at the level that the team should be winning. And I knew once that was the case, I was kind of off the Otto bandwagon. But Kelly Oubre's in the story. I love Kelly Oubre ever since we drafted him. I liked his game, I liked his energy, I liked his potential. And seeing what he's doing out in Phoenix is much more indicative of something that I knew he could be here. Trading Kelly Oubre and a draft pick for Trevor Ariza after the original 3-team deal between us, Memphis, and Phoenix had gone down was the dumbest thing in the world to me, and I never will understand it. I honestly will never understand the sense it made. You traded a promising young wing player in Kelly Oubre, who had a lot of energy, that was a fan favorite, that had good, that was liked and really loved in the locker room along with his teammates. And you traded for a guy who cost you money, whose production, yes, right now is going to be higher than what you're going to get out of Kelly Oubre because he has the experience and years in the league. That this is a reason I'm talking about. And it looks like a good trade today, but you give me Kelly Oubre in 2020 or in 2021, I'll take that over Ariza in 2019. It makes no sense to me to see. And now seeing Oubre being able to spread his wings and score a little bit and see what be able to work within the offense as a secondary or third scorer at times. He's putting up numbers. He's able to score, and if the season there was no way they knew at the time of the trade the season was going to happen the way it did, with John Wall going down and with him going down again for most of next season. But if you don't trade away Kelly Oubre and he's getting the minutes that Ariza and Jeff Green and those guys are getting now, you might see those same type of numbers from him, especially if they still make the Otto Porter trade and get Parker and Portis. If they still make that trade, I would love to see Kelly Oubre be able to work in the type of flowing offense that we have now. We're not winning a lot of games, but you're seeing guys like Bradley Beal's game take a jump to that next level. You're seeing guys like Thomas Bryant take a jump to that next level and really become comfortable and confident in their game and really become well-rounded players. I would love to see Kelly Oubre do what he's doing in Phoenix here. And in the trade for Ariza in 2018, 2019 will always baffle me, and I'll always be against it, and I will always feel that the team better off without him, and that's how I feel today, and that's how I'll feel at the end of the season when they're trying to figure out if they're going to bring him back or not. And so, go ahead.
Jerrod. Listen. Do you think that Kelly Oubre has leadership intangibles? Yes or no?
Leadership? Is he going to ever be team captain, or the guy to knock down the game-winning shot for us in the fourth? Probably not. But he's the type of guy you need on a team to win. Every great championship team has had a Kelly Oubre style guy. The Warriors have Draymond Green. The Bulls had Dennis Rodman. The Pistons had Bill Laimbeer.
No. I gotta stop you. Wait a second. Are you saying that Kelly Oubre? How do you mean? How do you mean that? Because I can't put Kelly Oubre Jr. in the same maybe arguably in the same sentence with the Draymond Green as far as the life that he brings, etc. But can you really put him in the same sentence as a Bill Laimbeer, a guy like that?
And not talent-wise, not all-time player-wise. At least I don't see it right now anyway. But as far as that energy, that never quit, that always going to stare down the biggest guy on the other team, no matter what the size difference is, or no matter what the talent difference is, and go at him like Kelly Oubre is a giant and the other guy's an ant. That type of fire and passion, you can't coach it up. You can't train it up. You can't develop it. That has to be something that you're born with. And Kelly Oubre, Wave Poppy, whatever you want to call him, Tsunami Poppy, whatever, he was born with that. And the Wizards don't have that guy on their team anymore. I mean, they're not winning anything anyway. But if going into next year, if they were able to make some moves, draft a guy coming up, and have a chance to be in that middle of the pack while John Wall gets healthy and comes back, a guy like Kelly Oubre is great in the playoffs. Like that series against Boston where he laid out Kelly Olynyk. Was it a dumb move? Yes. It was very, very, very stupid, and the guy got suspended for a very pivotal game where we could have used him. But at the same time, that level of energy is something that nobody else on the team right now currently has, and it hasn't been replaced yet. And like I said, everybody needs that guy. Is he as talented as Draymond Green? No. Is he as talented as guys like I said, Rodman and Laimbeer? Not at all. But he has that mental edge where he doesn't care who you are. And that's the type of guy. Give him a couple more years in the league to get into his prime, to get as strong he's going to be, to really soak up all the basketball knowledge he can. He's still in his rookie deal. He's still very, very young. And he's the type of guy that if you still had him on this team, in 2 years from now, when Giannis Antetokounmpo will be the best player in basketball, you have a guy like Kelly Oubre on your team who's nowhere near as good as Antetokounmpo is, but he will sit there and go toe-to-toe with him and be in his face and run with him the entire game, all 48 minutes if he had to. That's the type of guy you lost and gave up, including a second-round pick, to get a 3-and-D guy who's in Ariza is good, but if you're middle of the pack, over that hump, he just doesn't, and nobody will ever convince me of otherwise.
But is Oubre gonna be in his face like in a Patrick Beverley way, where he's actually still playing defense, and still we saw Patrick Beverley just last night, it was just Monday night, disrupting LeBron and making life, making life crazy for him, or is he just gonna be picking up senseless fouls and just, picking up offensive fouls and just kind of fouling himself out of the game and not really helping at all? See, I don't see those leadership intangibles that I see in a guy like Trevor Ariza. I don't see the chemistry.
That's the whole thing. That's not a leadership thing. That's just a mad dog who you let off the leash. And I would have to assume and just be willing to bet that Kelly Oubre 2-3 years from now, when he's well into his second NBA contract, this same energy and same effort and mentality that he has, we funneled into a more positive direction, and he's not committing stupid offensive fouls. He's not committing flagrant fouls. He's not doing those kind of things that will get him taxed and flagrants and get him kicked out of the games and be rendered useless to the team he's on. I feel like he will be similar to Patrick Beverley, but maybe even more versatile on the offensive end because he's still able to shoot very well. He's becoming a better driver to the basket, and his handle's improving. I think Kelly Oubre will be I don't think he'll ever be an all-star. I don't think he'll ever become close.
Well, definitely not in the Western Conference, that's for sure.
Of course, but he's the type of guy, if you had to go small, let's say somehow the Suns work everything out, DeAndre Ayton becomes this great center, Devin Booker continues to develop and becomes a really good guard. They find a true point guard, and they find some help in the on the free agency or wherever else, and they have to go against teams like the Warriors with Kevin Durant and everybody else. And they're matching up pretty well everywhere else, but you need somebody to guard KD. I'm not saying he's going to shut KD down, but he will make a 7-game series with Kevin Durant, with guarding Kevin Durant, really, really tough for him. Not today, not March 5th, 2019, but maybe May 5th of 2021, I could see him being one of those strappy, in-your-face wing defenders in those sense where Draymond Green is that for the post and for the wing, and guys like Patrick Beverley and Marcus Smart are on the wing too. But just as far as that stretch, small forward position, that's where I see Kelly Oubre going. And I wish that could happen here. I wish, because this upcoming rest of the season and most of next season is where you're going to see a lot of guys have the opportunity to really grow and shine without having John Wall be there, to lead the team. And so I would love to see Oubre benefit from that. Unfortunately, he's in Phoenix, he's in the desert, and so it can't happen.
Yeah, I just want to go back just on the original topic. I just want to go back and say that I think personally, maybe you're right. Maybe he will be that Draymond Green type player, et cetera, in the future. But, we see this a lot with Wizards players where they just don't fit here, and they go off and they have great careers in other cities. So maybe it's just a change of scenery. I've always said that the biggest thing for Otto Porter is he's played his entire adult life here in DC. He played for Georgetown, he played for the Wizards his entire career. So I think the best thing for him would have been a change of scenery. I would have loved to get a little bit more for him, like maybe a draft pick or something. But he probably just needed a change of scenery. And I could arguably say the same thing for a guy like Bobby Portis. He probably needed a change of scenery too. Just on the flip side, because he's starting to pick up his game and play pretty well here in DC too. But I think some guys just aren't a fit with this Wizards team, and I think as long as Otto Porter was never going to be a number 1 option and Kelly Oubre was never going to be a number 2 or even a number 3 option, they probably just needed to go somewhere else, because I can't see them even necessarily putting up those numbers here in DC. Because Kelly Oubre, even this year, he wasn't shooting that well in DC. So if you're playing 41 games here at Capital One Arena and you're not shooting well, then it doesn't really matter, because you got to win road games anyway. So maybe they both just needed a change of scenery. They needed to be somewhere else to play 41 games a year. So I say, sad to see them go, but, I hope they do well and I hope they flourish. And sorry it couldn't work out here in DC.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Man, I must say, this is our 3rd episode, but we it was a nice debate that you all had, and we actually had a couple more topics left. We could definitely leave that for next week.
Yeah.
So I hope you all enjoyed the show, and if you did, subscribe to us wherever podcasts are available, and even leave us a review on iTunes, as that will help us grow in the charts and reach more people. You can find us on Twitter. I am at J2 Darrin is at DBirdHoops, and Jerrod is at RoddyKG. Don't forget to check out DMVSportsNetwork.com. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter at DMV_SN. And if you want to join the team, contact them via Twitter, the website, or shoot them an email at DMVSportsNetwork@outlook.com. Thanks for listening, and we will be back next week with bigger and better topics. Peace.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you. Peace out.